friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, my tomatillos are coming in. I'm getting lots like I figured I would. And so I'm going to be making another batch of Salsa Verde. And this is my own recipe I just made up on the fly. And it's based off my regular tomato salsa recipe. And it's pretty simple, but I don't have exact ingredients, and that is one reason why I want to do this in a video format. And this is actually why I started my YouTube channel, because I'm one to throw stuff together and go by sight, smell, and taste rather than using measurements. So hoping that people can watch and see how my ingredients come together to get an idea. But I do try my best to put in measurements for those who really want more exact figures. So let's get started and I'll show you what I do. All right, here is my last batch of Salsa Verde, and this one I'm very pleased with. Now, those of you who've been following me for a while will know that I had never tried Salsa Verde. I had never tried tomatillos. I'd never grown them before this year. So I actually grew the tomatillos so I could try making Salsa Verde to see if I even liked it. The first batch I made, I didn't care for. I'm saving it because I'm hoping I can still use it in cooking, and but I really wasn't happy with it. And at that point I was like, I'm not growing tomatillos again. But then as I got a whole bunch more coming in, it's like I got to try it again, and I'm just going to go this time by the same way that I make my tomato salsa, so much better. So what I did is, though I love cumin, I don't typically, it's not something I would normally add to my salsa. And I added that to my other salsa, and initially it tasted good until I canned it, and then I didn't like it. Now, this salsa, what I have found that when it comes to salsa, I've tried several different types of peppers, and for me personally, my very favorite is jalapenos when it comes to the salsa. And I've tried growing them here, and I can get some. I'm not able to grow enough here in our short, wet, cold growing climate to get the amount that I need for making all this salsa. And so I'll be using jalapenos, which I didn't do in the previous batch, but I did do in this one. And then the other thing, the third thing that I did to that salsa that was different than any other tomato salsa I've made, was I added the popolo that I tried growing this year, which I did get a few plants that came through for me. And I found that I did not like the flavor of it in the salsa. Now, eating it right off the plant, I do like, but did not like it in the salsa. Cilantro, to me personally, is just the best. As far as the garden grown stuff, I will be using my own tomatillos, plus Salsa Verde means green sauce, so I'm going to be throwing in a few green tomatoes while I'm at it. I did that with my last one. And some zucchini. I'll also be using some homegrown onion and homegrown garlic, and I forgot to get my onion out, so I got to go get some onion. Okay, here are a couple of my Walla Wallas right here, so I still have to peel them and get them ready, and I'll do that, and then I'll get back to getting started on this salsa and showing you how I make it. Okay, so right here I have this little, I think it's King Pro. I'll link to this below. It's a little hand food processor, and I like this pretty well. However, my issue with it is plastic. I really like to find one that was glass, all glass and stainless steel. And I'm guessing if there is one out there, it's probably going to be pretty expensive. When I make salsa, I prefer to use this over my blender because I like my salsa rather chunky, and I can control just how big I want my onions and my tomatoes and or tomatillos and whatever. So what I'm going to start with, and I mix this up as I go, is I'm going to go ahead and start with some of the tomatillos. So I usually chop them in quarters or eighths depending on the size of the tomato or the tomatillo. So basically what I'm showing you is how I do either one, either the red salsa or the green salsa. So I usually start with about that much. You don't want to get too much in here at a time or it'll be hard to turn. Okay, and that's usually, I count my rotations, it's usually somewhere between 15 and 20 depending on how much I have in here. And that's usually the size I like to use for my tomatoes and tomatillos. All right, so now when I put in my cilantro, I usually start with about half of it at a time, and I just cut, move that out of the way, I just cut a bunch off and I throw it into this. Now, what you'll find if you're using a food processor, or at least one like this, I've never had an electric one, so I don't know how well they work, that when you're doing something like cilantro, and you can chop it with a knife, and I used to do that years ago, but it's just so much quicker to use a food processor. So what I like to do, I'm going to start with one big jalapeno, is to throw some other ingredients in with it that I don't mind being cut up pretty small. So I'll put in a couple more tomatillos. And the reason I start with a half, or well, that's definitely more than half the cilantro, is because I like to taste it as I go. I don't know, I know by how things look in the bowl, I will most likely use the whole, that whole bunch of cilantro. But I gotta see how much I really have in the bowl. So I find this anyway works best if I have other things I'm chopping up with the cilantro. And that's what that looks like there. Throw all that in there. And then I'll do the same thing with the garlic. So you can see I got a handful. This is not going to be enough garlic for me, but I do the same thing because this isn't going to chop up very good like that by itself. So what I want to do is I'll throw in another jalapeno pepper. And a couple of more tomatillos. All right, the other thing I like to do is use the Kirkland brand. You get it at Costco, granulated garlic, and I put in quite a bit. That's about an 1/8 cup right there, and that's just to start with. I may add more as I go. Now, one of the reasons I like to add a dried garlic of some kind as well as the fresh garlic is the dried garlic is going to help soak up any excess liquids that I might get from either my tomatoes or tomatillos or whatever else is in there, or the zucchini as is in this case. It will probably make a lot of water. And so using some dried ingredients I find to be beneficial when doing stuff like this. So now let me do the onions so you can see how big I like to chop my onions when using this. And I don't know if I'll use the 2 whole onions or not yet. It's just like with the other stuff, the cilantro and such, it's just going to depend on how the bowl looks and what all I have. So that's about how I like it. I like it, again, pretty chunky. So you may want to chop yours up small, but that's what the nice thing too about this is I'll get small pieces and big pieces in there. If you don't turn it too many times, you can kind of get a nice mix of both. Now there's a couple more ingredients I'm going to be adding to this, and that is lemon juice or lime juice. I love lime juice, but it's so much more expensive than lemon juice, especially if you're looking for a good organic one. You got to be careful when buying those concentrated juices like that are in these bottles at the store, because most of them you'll find have some added ingredients that are unsavory. So I was really thrilled when I found this one. You see, I'm always handling it with wet hands, so the label's all warped. At our local store, and it is available on Amazon, and I'll link to it below, so if nothing else you can at least get a good look at it and read the ingredients. But you'll find it much cheaper at a local store if you have a store that carries it. If this is organic and all that's in it is lemon juice, nothing more. Now read the ingredients of those popular brand lemon and lime juices, and you may be surprised at what you find. So I'm going to use a measuring cup for this just so you can see roughly how much I put in. I'm going to start with a 1/4 cup. Now, I tried using my homemade vinegar in a couple of different batches of salsa I've made just to see if I could do something, because I don't grow lemons, so I do have a Meyer lemon tree again, we'll see, and I don't grow limes, but the vinegar just doesn't add the same taste as a citrus like a lemon or lime. But anyway, I'm just starting with that. Chances are I'm going to taste this and add at least twice that much, if not 3 times that much as I go. So now for the zucchini, I'm not going to show you chopping up all of this stuff, but I just kind of want you to see for sizes. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'll use about this much of this zucchini. We'll see as I go. So I'm going to cut that much off. All right, okay, that's perfect. So you can see the size. I like the zucchini to go in there. And I can tell that that looks like, I don't think I'm going to want to put any more than that of the zucchini. Now, one of the reasons for the zucchini is, well, it's just another way I can use up zucchini. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon. Normally I'd use my hand because I have a better idea what a tablespoon looks like in my hand, but my hand is wet, so I don't want to do that. So I'm using the lid and kind of eyeballing it. About a tablespoon of the Himalayan pink salt in this. And again, I always say this, my very favorite salt is the USA mined Redmond real salt. It's mined in Utah and it is so good. I love it best for flavor and because of where it comes from. Alright, so I have the salsa all done. I want to show you what it looks like. Got a nice big bowl here. And I did end up adding another half cup of lemon juice. And so that's 3/4 cup lemon juice. And I put in a little bit more zucchini, like another thick slice. And I did use the whole onion. And I added about another 1/4 cup of the granulated garlic. And right now it's about perfect. I think I have a total of 4 jalapenos in this, and that will give it a medium heat to it. For me, if it was just me eating it, I would probably add several more jalapenos, but I like to keep it a medium heat so it's a little more appealing to most people that way. And if people want it hot, something hotter, they can simply add some red pepper flakes that I always keep on hand, or cayenne pepper, or that wonderful pepper blend that lady sent me that I love so much. Again, I'm still using that, by the way, if you're watching, and I love it. I'm putting it on almost everything. I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out. That's some great stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and can what I've got here. So I've got my clean jars, my clean lids, ready to go. Now, I am not the go-to person on canning because when I can my salsa, I don't have any specific. I know if you're going to can salsa, you should go look at some charts and know exactly what your acidity is and exactly your timetable if you want to really play it safe. I just usually wing it. I know how it should taste. And I know how long I like to process it. I'm doing pint jars. I used to do quarts and I would can them for about 40 minutes, 35-40 minutes, and now I'm down to pints, and because it's just the 2 of us and usually a whole quart takes us a while to get through, so about 30 minutes is when I process them, hot water bath. Now I just want to show you how I fill my jars because I had somebody in one of my videos that seemed to think I didn't own a canning funnel simply because I like when I'm cutting up whole fruit. I don't bother with a canning funnel at that time because it just gets in my way. But when it comes to adding liquid ingredients, I do use a canning funnel. And because if I don't, I will pour it all over the counter because that's how I do things. And so, yes, I own 2 canning funnels, in fact. This one is my favorite because it is stainless steel. My first one I got was plastic, and I use the plastic one, and I wouldn't mind using it so much with this because this is a cold ingredient. If I'm putting in anything hot, I definitely use the stainless steel. So if you're interested in this funnel, I do have a link to it, and I'll put it below. Or you may be able to find it locally, making sure that you debubble your jars. And then, of course, you're going to want to make sure that your rim is clean before you apply your lid. Now I'm not using Tatler lids only because I'm out of the regular mouth, which I'm really bummed. I had to order some more because I really, especially when I'm doing salsa, I really prefer using the Tatler lids. But I have a video either coming out or it might be out by the time I get this one up. I don't know yet. That goes in a little more into depth about how to use the Tatler lids, but you can also find a little bit more, I think, on my peach canning video. But with these, with the metal lids, you just put it on hand tight, and then again put it in your water bath canner, inch of water, and boil for me 30 minutes for this. I say is sufficient. Now I've seen places that say pint jars on some of this stuff 40 minutes. To me that's overkill, but don't take my word for it. Look it up, do your own research. Again, I'm not the canning guru. Now I did have someone who follows me on Facebook who suggested grilling the tomatillos and onions before I make the salsa, which sounds really good. However, I wanted to stick with just my tried and true method of just making salsa, and I've been happy with this, but I probably will try that on a day where I have a little bit more time to spare. So, but thank you for that suggestion if you're watching this video. And for those who are new to making salsa verde, that might be something you want to try. Hope you enjoyed this video and that maybe you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.